check. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being patient. This is an amazing turnout, and again, I want to say thank you to all of you for coming out tonight to enjoy some beautiful music. You will not be disappointed with Dr. Christopher Schmidt and the Lakeview Mariachi. But at this time, could we all please rise for the presentation of our colors? Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, if we could all please welcome our mayor, Miss Brenda Gunter. She's going to come up and talk a little bit for you guys today.
The first thing I want to say is what a great crowd we have here tonight. This auditorium is packed. It's not very often that we get to welcome home one of our own, and tonight Mario Castillo is one of our own, and we welcome him back from Washington, D.C. He is passionate about this community. He works so hard to bring back to this community things that he thinks will add to all of our lives. And tonight is one of those nights. We are privileged, we are honored, and we're excited about tonight's program. And it took Mario Castillo's insight and his exposure to many things in Washington, D.C. to find Dr. Christopher Schmidt and get his enthusiasm and his talent attached to our mariachi kids. This program, I'm so excited to hear it, and I know you will too. Dr. Schmidt is a Juilliard graduate. He is a classical trained pianist. He does events in the White House, and he's chosen San Angelo to share his music and his talents with our kids. Not every high school has this opportunity and exposure. And again, I want to thank Mario Castillo for bringing him here to us and sharing this wonderful man, this gifted man, so gifted that he has chosen our gifted people, the mariachi band, to join forces and entertain all of us tonight. I also want to welcome some other folks that are joining us tonight. Because this isn't just about our school kids, it's not just about Mario, and it's not just about Dr. Schmidt. It is about many people who we share and support here in San Angelo. And tonight, we welcome many people from our Air Force Base. The lights are down, so you can't see how many people from Goodfellow Air Force Base are here, but you will see them later on tonight. This night is about our community, our citizens, and the talent that exists here in this community. Enjoy the concert, and be sure to thank Mario for bringing this to our town, your town, my town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, at this time, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you again for waiting. We're going to go ahead and get started, and just like the mayor mentioned earlier with Dr. Christopher Schmidt, it has been an absolute privilege for us to be able to rehearse with them. I know that the mayor also talked a little bit about his credentials, but I think there's a little bit more to be said about this. The Juilliard School of Music is one of the most prestigious music schools in the entire world, and Dr. Schmidt not only he doesn't just have his bachelor's degree from there, he has his master's degree and his doctorate degree. So it's a lot of discipline, a lot of hard work that it takes to get to that school, and Dr. Schmidt is someone that the students have come to revere, and I'm very, very pleased that they're able to work with him. So we're gonna start the show with Dr. Schmidt, but we also have a very special guest with Dr. Schmidt, one of our very own, Mr. Isaac Carales, who is a Lakeview Mariachi student. To tell you just very briefly, today has been a hectic day. At 7:30 in the morning, Mr. Isaac Carales and one of our other students, Darren Anthony, we got up and we went to Abilene, Texas to record for the All-State Mariachi. We drove for an hour, and yes, give him a round of applause. So we drove to Abilene. We got there. As soon as we got there, they literally had like 15 to 20 minutes to warm up, and they had to record. Now, remember that this recording, it's required of them to play 2 etudes from memory, and they also have to sing to a track. So they just had 15 minutes to warm up and get ready, and and I was super impressed with both of them because they did the best that I've ever heard. And I was just so impressed as to how quickly they're able to turn on their engines and get ready to go. As soon as they were done, we stopped by Arby's and picked up some lunch, and we came back, and we got here at 12:30. And at 1:30, the bus showed up to pick us up to come and rehearse with Dr. Schmidt, and we've been here since. So to say, these students, one of the things that I tell them all the time is, even if they don't learn anything from me, I hope that they learn how to have a strong work ethic. Because I think if they can do that, they can accomplish anything that they want to. And I think those two students for sure have shown it, and all the other students as well. This past 2 days, we've been rehearsing several hours a day with Dr. Schmidt just to make sure that we present something that is worthy for you to hear. And so we're very, very proud of the students of the Lakeview Mariachi. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Christopher Schmidt and Isaac Carales.
Thank you so much for this warm reception, for your kind words, for the welcome. It's such a pleasure to be here in San Angelo. You're about to hear why. Isaac is an incredibly talented, thoughtful trumpet player and a musician. And the purpose of this, in many ways, is a cultural integration of two disparate art forms that have so much in common. So throughout the program, you're going to hear a lot of classical music that's its own identity, and then a lot of Mexican mariachi music that has its own identity. But you'll also hear moments where mariachi, Isaac, will join a classical piece, where I, a classical pianist, will join a mariachi piece, and even in the form of Ravel's Bolero, a piece that has been hybridized, so to speak, to be a bridge between the two. So we don't have to apologize for what the heritage and the identity of the music is. We can still share that emotion which all humans share that's expressed in music. So this first piece is Dmitri Shostakovich's Waltz No. 2. We would like to dedicate it to the recently fallen Marine Staff Sergeant Bryce Rudisell. Part of that is made clearer by the fact that Dmitri Shostakovich was utterly terrorized in Soviet Russia under Stalin's rule, and he sought to express what he wanted to under the threat of having to appeal to this regime. And so it's a piece that's beautiful and powerful and stirring, and happens to be one of our patron Mario Castillo's favorite pieces. And so you can get to know quite a bit about a man by knowing what his favorite music is. Anyway, you'll notice that Isaac brings a beautiful mariachi flair to the vibrato of the trumpet, the phrasing, the sliding between notes. It's really stirring in a way that a strictly classical trumpeter might not be able to capture. So thank you again for being here, and it's such a pleasure to be back again. So you see what I mean, it's pretty incredible. The mariachi's talking about how happy they are to play with me, but they haven't mentioned how much I can learn from them. So in the classical music world, there's so much to express and learn, but sometimes things can be in a bit of a closed box. And to find a new way to look at the same music with the freshness of youth and this talent and this other cultural influence is such a valuable influence for me and for anyone from my background, classical music-wise. So, such a great job, Isaac. Thank you so much for being here. So the next program, I'm going to play a couple of pieces, 3 pieces by a composer that is really one of the most fun in the classical music world, Franz Liszt. So he's of Hungarian descent, and he's thought of as the first rock star pianist. So before his time, pianists would only tour if they're playing as part of an orchestra, as a concerto, so to speak. But he was the first touring concert pianist who wrote his own music and played only piano solo in all of his concert tours, or most of them at least. And so this next piece is a piece that he wrote in tribute to a well-known Italian violinist, Niccolo Paganini, who was so skilled that a lot of the people in his time period deeply believed that he had sold his soul to the devil to get that kind of violin skill. So Franz Liszt said, well, I can make it even better by taking his pieces and writing them out for piano. So you'll hear a bit of the whimsical nature of the violin, a lot of repeated strokes, repeated notes, and it's a wonderful piece. It's called La Campanella, the Bell. Hope you enjoy it. So it's great how Liszt can show that violin characteristic and then still embrace the piano's quality. So like that, those two sides can be combined. The next piece is Liebestraum, which is Love's Dream. It's a different piece than the last one, much more heartfelt and inward in a way. And it's beautiful in many ways. The opening voice you'll hear is in the lower register of the piano, like a man's range of singing. And then later on, you'll hear a soprano adding. And then at the end, the two join in Love's Dream. So I hope you enjoy this, Liszt's Liebestraum. So quite the gamut has been spanned even just in those two pieces. This next, also by Franz Liszt, is one of his Transcendental Etudes, which are transcendental in terms of what they can express, but also in terms of their difficulty. So etude is a word for study, and many of the etudes are dry in terms of musical content. But Liszt's etudes especially are concert pieces. So this one is a study for the left hand. You'll notice there's a lot of jumps in the left hand, but also the very opening actually has a kind of a neat texture where both hands are actually intertwined in a quick sort of virtuosic flourish. It's been dubbed by the publishers appassionata because it reflects so much impassioned desperation. Again, a thing that I think people of all cultures and all types have experienced at some time in their life. This, to me, the middle section speaks to me so much because it shows at one point this desperation in a very quiet, inward sense. And in a matter of 2 seconds, Liszt is able to change the harmonies. That desperation quietly is transformed into total peace and solitude and serenity, only to change again about 10 seconds later into this dramatic finale. So I hope you enjoy this. This is Liszt's 10th Transcendental Etude. So at this point, I'm going to welcome Isaac back to the stage. We're going to perform a piece by Franz Schubert, who, for a little bit of a history background, Franz Liszt was part of the Romantic era of music. Later on, we're going to have Beethoven, part of the classical era of music, and Franz Schubert bridged the two together. So if classical is about order and precision and structure, and the idea that Einstein once said of Mozart that he didn't compose his music, he discovered it like it already was there. The Romantic era is more of freedom of personal human expression of what we feel and of what we want to express. So this Schubert is another song about love, a Standchen. It's a little darker, it's a little sad, and this one lends itself especially well to the mariachi flair. But Isaac is so nuanced and subtle that he can have both. He can have a classical leaning and then a mariachi and then classical. And it's just a lovely, lovely piece. Originally for tenor and piano, but now transcribed for trumpet and piano. Hope you enjoy Schubert's Standchen. just amazing how much beauty can come from something so simple. I mean, the music is not that many notes, and yet when someone has that kind of feeling behind it, and they're expressing something that meaningful, it comes across to everybody, and it's beautiful. So thank you, Isaac. It was just wonderful. I'll do one more Appassionata piece. This one is more well-known, is called that more often, and helps with the namesake, Beethoven Meets Mariachi. This will be a piece by Ludwig van Beethoven, who himself had a pretty sad life. He was very isolated. His father was an abusive alcoholic, and he went deaf midway through his life, which not only was a horrible inconvenience as a composer and a performing pianist. He obviously couldn't really perform again with other groups if he couldn't hear, but it also destroyed the little solace he had in social gathering. He couldn't have intimate relationships or even friendships that close because he couldn't hear. It was just a horrible thing, and he was a very emotional person, and so he used his music to express that. This is the third movement of his Sonata Opus 57, Appassionata, and it shows that in a very beautiful and stirring way. I hope you enjoy this, the third movement of Beethoven's Sonata Appassionata. sometimes the appassionata can get to the performer as well, and it's hard to keep the tempo going, but it makes it more exciting, hopefully. The next piece I'll play is by an Impressionist composer who lived around the same time as the Impressionist visual arts painters, Monet and Cézanne and Degas and these guys. And so much of this is, rather than depicting a specific image, showing what one's impression of an image is. So not delineating the lines so clearly, but leaving the listener to form their own impressions of where these delineations should occur. In the piano, part of that means blurring the lines between different harmonies with the pedal. So you'll notice that the sounds mix together, much like the foggy landscapes or the watery landscapes of the Impressionist painters. It ends up being a little more blended together so that the listener can form their own interpretation of what's being played. This Maurice Ravel worked quite well, and we're going to explain the next piece, which is another piece we're going to play with the mariachi. So I will play Jeux, and then we'll play Maurice Ravel's Bolero with the ensemble. And you'll see how this composer can lend himself to so many different things. So this first one, Jeux, means water games, which is like a fountain, the idea of the play of the water, how the water can be very flexible. It can also be very intense, just like water in real life. There's so much it can be in different ways. So you'll hear in the piano rendition of this, just the whole gamut of intensity. And in the Bolero, you'll notice how Ravel uses that same technique, and it can work out quite well with a large ensemble. So for now, Maurice Ravel's Jeux. And now for the fun part of the evening, I'd like to invite the Lakeview Mariachi and their director, Rosendo Ramos, on stage.
Can we please give one more round of applause to Dr. Christopher Schmidt on his amazing performances? And at this time, we're gonna invite the Lakeview Mariachi out, and I'll introduce him here in a minute. But working through the song of Bolero, this next song that we're gonna perform for you, it was definitely a challenge. Like Dr. Schmidt had mentioned earlier, the students, the discipline that it takes to play classical music is very similar to that of mariachi. There's just there's different things that have to kind of fall in order for all of this to work together. And the students have been working very, very hard, and I had the privilege of having one of our directors, Mr. Ezra Ramirez, arrange this song. And so he did a great job. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the Lakeview Mariachi. As they get situated, I do want to again mention and thank Mr. Mario Castillo for having Dr. Schmidt out here. Without his guidance, we wouldn't have had these opportunities that these students have been able to take and to be able to flourish through these opportunities. Mario always has a crazy idea of something completely left field, and I've told Mario myself that sometimes when he asks these things, I'm just like, I don't know if that's gonna work, but I just tell him, you know what, let's make it happen. And one thing about Mario is that if he says that he's gonna do something, he always follows through, and he makes sure that we have everything that we need to make it happen. And I'm very thankful for that. Can we please give Mario Castillo a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? So I hope through this piece that you get to see a little bit of how we mesh the classical world with mariachi. And you're gonna get to hear all the instruments, and it's gonna be really nice. So just kind of go with the flow on the build of this song, and like I said, the students have been working very hard, and I hope you enjoy. This is Ravel's Bolero. Again, as you can imagine, it takes a lot of discipline, and especially I'm going to mention one of our violista, Mr. Gabriel Gomez, and all the armonía. It takes a lot of discipline for them to be able to keep that rhythm going constant for this whole song. So it was very interesting to be able to play this song, and again with Dr. Schmitt with us, it was just an amazing collaboration with him. At this time, I kind of wanted to mention a couple of things. As you walk out, I know that when you were coming in, we had some T-shirts out there, the Lakeview Mariachi T-shirts. Those are we have some new T-shirts that we're going to be selling for this fall, and we're working on a new design for the spring as well. But if you can, whenever you head out, if you can support the mariachi, this year we're planning to go all the way down to Florida, to Disney World and Universal Studios. And I'm trying to take all the students, and as you can imagine, it is an expense. So anything that you are able to support with, whether it's getting a T-shirt, getting a booster card, or even buying a decal, anything supports and helps the mariachi. And I want to make sure that every single one of these students has that opportunity to go down there. And we're planning to work with a great mariachi by the name of Mariachi Cobre and get a workshop from them. And they reside there in Disney World. And so we're very excited about that. And right now we have about 38 participants registered for that trip. And we're really, really excited. So if you can, when on your way out, if you want to support the Lakeview Mariachi in any way you can, we would greatly appreciate it. Also, tomorrow we're doing a haunted workshop at 4203 on FM 2105. All proceeds will be donated to the Lakeview Mariachi, and we'd like to thank V. Ramos Roofing for providing his workshop for us to be able to go out there. If you don't have anything going on this weekend and you were looking for a scare, these students will be dressed in I'm not going to tell you because I'll spoil it, right? But they've been working very hard decorating that workshop and making it into a maze and a trail. The entry fee is $10. We're hoping that the rain doesn't deter too many people. It is a little muddy, but I think we're going to make it happen regardless. The students know that once we put in this much work, we're going to go for it regardless, and hopefully we have a good turnout out there. And finally, if you could please go on the Facebook page and like the Lakeview Mariachi. We have a public page, and we put all our stuff, all our events are on there for the coming, the rest of the school year. We do have a concert here on December 8th. It's going to be a Friday. It's going to be our winter concert, and you get to see the little students from the very beginning, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, all the way to seniors, and this group will finish off that concert. That's going to be December 8th, starting at 6:30 as well. So if you can please come out on those days and come and support the Lakeview Mariachi. Without further ado, I would like to have Mr. Mario Castillo come up here and talk a little bit about our next piece. It has a great history. Mario, would you please come up here? Can we give him a round of applause as he walks up here, please?
Good evening. It's great to be back home. I was telling Ted Weatherford that I escaped Washington to come and calm down, if this is calming down. But it's a way for me to escape and to spend some time with my friends and to watch this incredible group of students perform and to see the parents and the community come together. The song that's going to be performed next by Darren, who is the president of the mariachi group, is a particularly sensitive song. So I'm letting you know now. And I like for the song to be performed and sung so that we in the mariachi group are reminded that music does not exclude anyone. In fact, music brings us all together. I think, as you have seen, the blending of two different disciplines. The song was made popular probably in the 30s, a few days before I was born, by a woman named Toña La Negra. That was her stage name, Cuban-Mexican. And the name of the song is Angelitos Negros, literally translated Little Black Angels. And what it is, it's the story of a poor worshiper who goes into a big cathedral, as can be found in Mexico, and he starts to cry and lament the fact that as he looks around and sees statues and paintings of the saints and the Virgin Mary and other religious portrayals, He doesn't see anyone that looks like him. So in his lamentation and his prayer to God, he says, God, you who created the world, you who created the artists, you who gave them their paintbrush and their paints, why is it that there is no one here that looks like me? So that is the story of Angelitos Negros, basically a crying out to God saying, can you include us in your place of worship? And music includes all of us.
En mi tierra con el pincel extranjero, pintor que sigues el mundo de tantos pintores viejos, aunque la Virgen sea blanca, píntame angelitos negros que también se van al cielo, todos los peregrinos buenos. Pintor, si pintas con amor, ¿por qué desprecias su color? En el cielo también los quiere Dios, pintor de santos del lugar, si te salvan el cuerpo, porque al pintar en tus cuadros te olvidaste de los negros. Siempre que pintas iglesias, pintas angelitos bellos, pero nunca te acordaste de pintar un ángel negro. Pintor de santos de alcoba, si tienes alma en el cuerpo, porque al pintar en tus cuadros te olvidaste de los negros. Siempre que pintas iglesias, pintas angelitos de Dios, pero nunca te acordaste de pintar un ángel negro.
Un aplauso, Darren Anthony. Go, Anthony. As you can imagine, the difficulty it is to sing in general. I know many of us would be very shy to come up here and wouldn't have the courage to be able to sing. But then to sing in a different language that you don't speak, that's a whole other layer that is added to that. Can we give, please, that Darren did an amazing job. And it's really awesome to see how these students all embrace the culture of mariachi. As you know, mariachi music is so important for the Mexican culture because it represents what we are as people. It represents our everyday emotions, whether we're happy, whether we're sad, whether we're angry. Everything can be seen in any mariachi music that you ever hear. And that's something that's very special for these students because I think as they grow up, they're going to have to find a way to navigate through these emotions that they may not have any other way. But music and mariachi music especially will be able to be there to help them, fight, to help them get through these emotions. So I'm very, very proud of them. One more round of applause for the Lakeview Mariachi, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, we have some very special guests, and I'm going to let Mr. Mario introduce them. And he let us know, he asked us a couple of months ago, he's like, he had a crazy idea. Again, you guys know Mario now. And he asked if we could do something to recognize our military. And so we were like, me and Mr. Ramirez, we had to kind of sit down. We're like, well, how are we going to do that? And of course, we know there's an armed forces medley, and we sat down and we started kind of writing out this music for mariachi. And I think you're going to definitely enjoy this piece. And I'm going to let Mr. Mario Castillo come on up and introduce our special guest this evening.
Either their steps are wobbly or I'm old, and maybe it's both. So you decide what you want it to be. I'm very, very happy to have our special guest here this evening. And I want to give a special welcome to Deputy Wing Commander, U.S. Air Force Colonel Chris Corbett and his wife Abigail and their children who are here with us. Please let us welcome them. You've heard the adjective crazy tossed around a couple of times about me. I'll own it. But it occurred to me a few months ago watching the situation around the world, and I was thinking about my father who was in World War II, and it was one of the first troops to land in Japan, and I thought about the military and the vital part that they play in our everyday lives. And you're more than just the military to us. You are the essence of life for America. You protect our Americanism. And so tonight, we don't know how else to thank you other than in song or music. And so at this time, I'd like to invite the following to come to the front to be recognized. United States Navy Chief Petty Officer Christopher Cobbs. Could you come forward, please? With the United States Marines, Sergeant Nicholas Spitzer. With the United States Air Force, Airman James Saleas. The United States Army, Staff Sergeant Brianna Dubinsky. The United States Space Force Specialist Justice Garcia. And before we proceed to the musical salute for them, stay around for the last music that's to be performed. It's Debbie Weatherford's favorite because I caught her tapping her toe last time it was performed at the San Angelo Museum of Fine Arts, and I think you'll like it. In any event, if our honored guest on stage, when you hear your service's anthem played, if you would step forward so we could recognize you. And this is our mariachi salute to you and to all of you who wear the uniform, and keep us safe. And may the prophets of our faith protect you and keep you away from harm.
The United States Army. The United States Marines. The United States Coast Guard. The United States Air Force. The United States Navy. The United States Space Force. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States military. Let's give them one round of applause, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. I want to say a little bit what's next. I want to say a little bit about it. Yeah? Okay. We have one last little piece that'll get your feet to tapping. It gets mine to tapping all the time, and maybe that's why I get in trouble with Rosendo and Dr. Schmidt, because that's when the crazy ideas come at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I figure they get my emails first. So, just two little things here. Some of these students have performed in Washington at the residence of the European Union ambassador, who was my neighbor until recently, and he loved them. And the EU ambassador in January will become the European Union ambassador to the United Nations. And the first thing he said to me, "You think you can bring the mariachis up to New York to play at the United Nations?" And I go like, "Oh God, Rosendo's gonna have a heart attack." So I'm not gonna push it. But interestingly, there was at a reception where the French ambassador was present, and he was kind of curious as to why mariachis in Europe, there was no connection. So I pulled him aside. I said, "Excellency, when your cousins from long ago were occupying the throne of Mexico with Carlota and Maximilian, you sent your troops with them. And the French troops, as troops will do, will find somebody to fall in love with, and they want to get married, and there's a wedding. And so the French soldiers would go to the Mexican musicians, and the Mexicans didn't speak French, and the French didn't speak Spanish. So through sign language, the French soldiers would go mariage, mariage. The Mexicans didn't quite get mariage, and so they came up with mariachi. So that's one story. You can make up your own. Again, this is a crazy person telling you this, okay? But this last piece that they're gonna perform, it was many years ago, and I'm kind of a history geek along with Ted. And I thought I heard this piece played in a World War II historical reel. And the first thing that came to mind is, what's my tribe doing with Benito Mussolini's people? And it happened that this particular piece was written, I think, in the 20s, I'm not sure. And it was at a time when President Lázaro Cárdenas was president of Mexico, and two individuals wrote him a letter about this piece. One of them was Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. "Dear President Cárdenas, we love Marcha Zacatecas, and we'd like to adopt it as our national march." President Cárdenas says, "No, thank you." The next fellow that wrote him was a fellow by the name of Benito Mussolini. You talk about crazy, he was really crazy, but anyway, and so President Cárdenas says, absolutely not. Fast forward to a few weeks ago where I hosted a concert where Dr. Schmidt was. I don't know what got in my head other than I said to Dr. Schmidt, "Hey, why don't you play Zacatecas for the gang?" So he played it, and then there was a lady who's my neighbor who's 89 or 90 years old. After he finished playing it, she raises her hands. She says, "I finally found what the name of that song is. I heard it when my husband and I were in our honeymoon in Italy." So apparently Benito didn't pay any attention to Cárdenas, and he just did whatever he wanted to do. So with that one, take it away.
Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, featuring again Dr. Schmidt, this is Zacatecas, Marcha de Zacatecas.
Before you exit, I think it's important that I let you know all the many contributors that helped make this possible this evening. I may be the one with the crazy ideas, but somebody's got to carry them out. So first and foremost, Rosendo Ramos, the director of the mariachi program, Mr. Ramirez, the assistant director of the program. Dr. Christopher Schmitt, who once made the mistake of asking me where West Texas was. Now do you know? I also want to make sure that I mention the parents of these incredible students. Genius is in their DNA. And I also want to make special mention of our San Angelo Independent School District Board. Without them, this wouldn't be happening. And a special thanks to Dr. Carl Detloff, who also gets crazy emails at weird hours of the night, but okay. To Molly Turk, who works with the San Angelo Independent School District, who also put up with a lot of emails and phone calls and texts, but that goes with the territory. To our mayor, Brenda Gunner, for always supporting us and showing up when we're performing. I also want to make mention of the fact that Shannon Medical Center has asked that I extend to Dr. Schmidt a special appreciation, and I have a small token of their appreciation that I will hand to you shortly. So for Shannon, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking care of us. And then to the owner of my absolute favorite flower shop in town, in fact, the only one I know, is Vicky with STEM Designs. She made all of this possible. And last but not least, to my friend Elta Joyce McAfee, who had the vision and the wherewithal to help renovate this place that we're enjoying this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you down the road. Buenas noches.